Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. My bad, guys. Got a little technical issue right here. Hold on one second while I get that sorted. I think I got an extra window open. And we should be all cleaned up in 1 second. All right, are we still getting an echo? All right, I think we should be good. There we go. Okay, I was wondering where that was coming from. It was on my phone. All right, guys, sorry about that. What we are going to do here is, as you can see, we're doing yet another topic on this LeBron Stephen A thing. Why? Because the story is still bubbling. And, hopefully this will be the last time I need to address this, but I heard some more of Stephen A's comments further going into what happened on the Stephen A Smith Show podcast yesterday. So I wanted to take some time and get into that a little bit more today. This one, I'm going to do my best not to make it super long, but we got some more commentary from him that we're going to go through, and then we're going to probably take a couple calls if there's anybody in the chat who wants to give their thoughts, and then we'll get out of here. So hopefully this won't be too long. Nothing like the last two. It's been like 2 hours at a time. So we're definitely going to try to avoid that. That's not the goal here. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to, do my little spiel, and then we'll go from there. If you're watching here on YouTube, make sure you go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept aware anytime we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you enjoy the content as you listen, make sure you give us a like, a 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And write it down, put it in your phones, make a note of it. The Format Podcast is live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And finally, if you're really and truly enjoying the podcast and you want to help the show continue to grow, make sure you go ahead, click that join button, join the channel. We're going to have some exclusive content just for you. And just on that exclusive content piece, guys, I know it's been a while since I gave you that. I did not forget you. Hopefully today or tomorrow, I should have a new exclusive members only episode coming out. And then I plan on having another one this weekend with a special guest. So hang in there with me. I really appreciate your support. Let's get it rocking and rolling. All right, y'all. Sid Bubba, good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Chief. How you doing, man? Good to see you. I appreciate it. Appreciate anyone else who's in the chat. Let me know who you are and where you're coming from. And again, hit that like and subscribe button. And well, let's go. All right. So let me start here, right? Obviously, you saw the thumbnail for what the show is going to be about. You see the rundown here. One topic, LeBron versus Stephen A, round 3. Why do I call it round 3? I call it round 3 because obviously round 1 was LeBron running up on Stephen A at the game, last Thursday night, I believe. And then round 2 was Stephen A's response on Friday. Round 3 was his response yesterday on the Stephen A. Smith Show. So while listening to that, I said, okay, this is good. I need to get on here and give some commentary on that. So that's what we're going to do here. That's what we're going to do. So let me start out with this, right? So here's the first thing. Now, y'all have been around for a while. I think most of you watching have been around this channel for a while, and I appreciate that. And so one thing you know with me, one thing I've always said, when it comes to LeBron, all I have to do is sit back and wait, and I'll eventually be proven right. No matter how many times I get called a hater, no matter how many times I hear, oh, you know, all you could do is talk about LeBron, or you wrong, you this, you lying, that, whatever. Okay, cool. I say it all the time. All I got to do, sit back and wait, and I'll eventually be proven right. Okay. So this is another one of those times, and I'm going to enjoy demonstrating that to you guys. Now, on the other side of that, right? This is actually something that I've experienced like most of my life, right? And I experienced it again recently on this channel, with a couple of viewers, and I love you guys, man. And it's fun because when I get proven right, y'all are crickets. But here's the deal: I get called what is it? I get called a know-it-all, right? And I always say that I'm not a know-it-all. I'm a know-a-lot. And I understand that only God Almighty knows it all, right? I get that. But I have certain things that I kind of live my life by, right? One of those things is called the 80% rule. So let me explain to you what the 80% rule is and why I go by it, right? So what's going on, Ajay Morris? Good to see you, brother. Salam to you as well. The 80% rule is this. I'm fully aware that only God knows everything, right? So that makes God right 100% of the time. Follow me on the math here. 100% of the time, right? As such, me personally, Bruce Hope, I shoot for being right 90% of the time, right? Because you have to allow yourself some grace because only God is right all the time. So I shoot for being right 90% of the time. Now, even though I shoot for being right 90% of the time, I'm still never going to make that 90%, right? So I allow myself another 10% for being wrong, right? And that allows me to land at what? 80%, which I'm right 80% of the time. Bruce, how do you think you're right 80% of the time? Very simply, because I don't talk about what I don't know about. If I don't know about something, I ask a question. If I don't know about something, I do the research. If I don't know about something, I defer to someone who knows better than I do, right? And so, well, Bruce, how do you manipulate it that you come out right 80% of the time? Because again, I don't talk about what I don't know about. If I don't know, I ask the question or I do the research, right? And so when you're around someone and they're right most of the time, I realize it annoys a lot of people. And what ends up happening is, Bruce, you're a know-it-all. Okay, cool. Hit dogs holler. You're mad because I know a lot? I'll take that. It's cool. So anyway, I say that to say, this is another one of those situations, and you're going to find out very shortly why I'm going into the 80% rule and explaining that to you guys, and why I'm explaining why I'm not a know-it-all, but I am a know a lot, because I don't talk about what I don't know. All right. So yesterday on the Stephen A. Smith show, he was going back into more detail regarding the recent events that happened between himself and LeBron James at the Knicks game the other night, right? And so, in case anybody forgot, and he'll briefly go over it, I'm just going to show the video, right? So obviously, we know that unless you're under a rock by now, you see LeBron James here running up on Stephen A. Smith and kind of giving him a short but profane tongue lashing in regards to Stephen A's coverage of Bronny James, LeBron's son, in terms of, how well he plays or does not play in the NBA. So be it, right? We've all been critical of Bronny James, how he entered. Well, most of us have been critical of Bronny James, how he entered the NBA, and what he is capable of doing at this time on that level, right? I was super critical of Bronny James. I'm still super critical of how it took place. I'm super critical of what he can do currently on the NBA level. I'm not super critical any longer of what he's able to do on the G League level. I've said multiple times, and I'll say it again. I was dead wrong about what Bronny would be capable of doing on the G League level. I thought he was going to get his lunch taken by those guys on the G League level who would look to make their names off of him. But seemingly, Bronny James he's growing as a player and playing extremely well down there. Now, I'm sure there's a little bit of context. What's going on, Kareem Duncombe? Brooklyn, stand up. Brooklyn, stand up. I'm sure that there's some there's some context into how Bronny is getting off like this in the G League, in terms of being in a situation where his coaches on the South Bay Lakers are giving him a lot more opportunities to shoot the ball, a lot more opportunities to have the ball in his hand, to make plays, et cetera, et cetera. But the G League is the place where that would happen, and he would get those opportunities to grow, because he's got to continue to develop if he wants to be any type of rotational NBA player. So, it is what it is. Ajay Morris, they did get Quincy Olivari out of the way. I believe the Lakers cut him. That was terrible. We can say whatever we want to say, but Bronny is producing on the G League level. So I've admitted I was wrong about that, and that's cool. I have no problem doing that, right? Again, y'all know me. I'm a man, and as a man, if you're wrong, you say you're wrong. No big deal. You say you're wrong, you admit it, you move on. Cool. But with that, Stephen A was one of the people. And the funny thing, he was never particularly critical of Bronny. He really wasn't. He basically said that Bronny wasn't ready. much like Kendrick Perkins, much like Magic Johnson. I didn't see LeBron run up on either one of them. Much like Charles Barkley, I didn't see LeBron run up on him. It's real funny. The only person he ran up on was Stephen A. Smith, which I might add here sets a really bad precedent in terms of players running up on journalists because they don't like what they said. That's not cool at all. And I personally, we know it's not going to happen, but I believe the league should do something like fine LeBron or suspend him because if I'm not mistaken, Boogie Cousins, he was recently talking about how he did that a few years back and he got suspended and fined for it because some reporters were talking or someone in the media was talking about his family and he basically walked up on him and was like, hey, don't talk about my family. You don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And he was fined and suspended. But of course, all the rules are different for LeBron James. But I guess that's life, right? If you are a person of a certain level and a certain ilk, the rules will not unfortunately, but the rules will be different for you. And, life will be different for you, right? So I guess that is what that is. But yeah, that's what we got. Yeah, right. Ija Morris, the NBA should fine him for that and set a precedent. I agree they should, but they're not going to. I think we know that. Let's see. Kareem says, if you watch the video, you'll see LeBron look up towards the crowd as to check if someone caught it. That was my original thought, Kareem, but I'm iffy on that, man, because I'm like, think about it. You can, if there's a large group of people or a large group of cameras or what have you, and you just glance in a certain direction, it can appear that you're looking right at someone and you're really not. So, I'll leave that one alone. I get what you're saying. And knowing how media savvy LeBron is, that's quite possible. But I'm not going to take it that far. But you guys know my thoughts on why LeBron handled that the way he did. But we'll get back into that shortly. J-Boy says, in reference to Bronny, no one cares about the G League stats. He's getting paid as an NBA player, so he's going to get criticism like an NBA player. We talk about everyone else like Podcast P, Westbrook, Street Clothes, AD. Absolutely. You're 100% right, J-Boy. And what's going on, man? By the way, everybody, make sure you guys are hitting that like and subscribe and hit the share button. Let's get some more people in here. I know y'all know a lot of people that love sports talk. Hit the share button and get some more people. Share it out with your phone book. Let's rock and roll. Let's make this thing grow. But anyway, J-Boy, you're 100% right. And you know that I agree with you wholeheartedly. But apparently the rest of the sports media and LeBron, the mainstream sports media, correct, and LeBron James does not see it that way. So what we're going to do now, y'all know by now how I move. We are going to play the sound from Stephen A. Smith on the Stephen A. Smith show. And we will get into that because I definitely want to share that with you. Give you my thoughts on what he had to say. And you know what I'll do. I'll pop in now and again and comment on the different things he has to say. I think this clip is about just under 15 minutes long, so not nearly as long as some of the 20 and 30-minute interviews I've played on some other shows. So we'll get through this, then we'll take some calls, and we'll get up out of here, all right? Let's go.
And obviously that made a lot of news because he approached me surprisingly and what have you, and it took off from there. Just to remind everybody of what transpired, I was sitting courtside. I was a guest of Ari Emanuel for William Morris Endeavor, the agency that represents me, one of the agencies that represents me, of course, and he was with Larry David, the actor and producer from Curb Your Enthusiasm. We were all sitting together. I was standing up. It was the third quarter. Out of a timeout, LeBron James rolled over on me and basically started speaking to me, getting in my face about stop effing with my son. That's my effing son. Stop effing with my son. And I was about the size of it. He didn't give me much of a chance to speak, to respond. You heard me last week allude to this on several occasions where I said that wasn't a basketball player approaching me. That was a father. That was a father protecting his son, and that I understood it. It's a few days later. My position has not changed in that regard. I do understand that. I truly, truly do. But what I said at that particular moment in time, which was this past Friday, was that had I had an opportunity to speak to LeBron, if the environment was conducive to that, not in the middle of a game, standing on the sideline, where my only recourse would be to make a scene by retaliating while a national audience was watching on TNT, sitting courtside just a few feet away from the Lakers bench. I was not going to do that, ladies and gentlemen.
So you hear what he said, right? Now, let me say this too while we're getting going at the beginning of this thing. You're going to hear Stephen A. suddenly tell a lot of truths that yours truly has been saying from the very beginning of this thing. And I don't mean this thing with LeBron. Well, I do mean that, but I also mean from the very beginning of Bronny getting drafted to the Lakers. You're going to hear Stephen A. speak a lot of truths. And so remember, one of the things I said last week when I was talking about this is what LeBron was very calculated in how he set this up because he made sure that he didn't give Stephen A time to respond. And also, of course, with Stephen A's prominent positioning in terms of, like he said, being on the sideline and being a few feet from the Lakers bench, he knew that if Stephen A acted up, it would be a very bad look for him, both as a professional and both as someone who works for ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So, typical LeBron move, very calculated.
Forget the fact, or maybe we should have forget the fact. That's up to you. But it was on the day where I was all over the news because news had percolated that I had reached a new contract extension with ESPN. It was that day, but that's neither here nor there. When that stuff happened, what I was going to say to LeBron James, which would have clearly made the situation worse, is what I said on national television Friday morning when I spoke about it on First Take on ESPN, and in the aftermath right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I said that when I brought up Bronny James and I was speaking about him, the incident that it clearly infuriated LeBron James so much, I wasn't talking about Bronny James. I was talking about you, LeBron James. And what threw me off was that LeBron James kept saying, stop shitting on my son. That's my effing son. That's my effing son. Stop shitting on my son. And that bothered me all weekend long because I was trying to figure out when was I shitting on his son. And that's why I decided to come back and revisit this today, because something happened over the weekend that seemed fairly innocuous to you all, but not to me.
So that's the first thing, right? He's thinking, and he's got a legitimate question there. What up, Q? What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Good to see you. He's got a legitimate question. He being Stephen A. Smith. When was I ishing on LeBron's son? Because we all know he never was. We all know realistically that he couldn't. But let's continue.
I want you to see this clip right here and to see what they're saying. This is LeBron James talking to my ESPN and ABC colleague, Richard Jefferson, his former.
So here, I don't have the clip, but if you remember, I'm sure being sports fans that you guys are, I'm sure you've seen it where Richard Jefferson and LeBron's giving him a pound, and he's basically explaining why he got so upset. And he's like, normally I don't give a F, but when he talks about me as a father, I can't. All right, so let's go on. Pardon me for 1 second, y'all. I forgot to turn the lights on. I'll be right there.
I'm a teammate. They won a championship together in Cleveland. Richard Jefferson now works for ESPN and ABC calling games, and LeBron was speaking to him prior to the game against Boston in Boston on Saturday night. And I would like you all to take a look at this and to see what they're saying LeBron said to Richard Jefferson. Take a look.
So this is that clip that he's talking about. I'm sorry, I don't have that for you.
So y'all saw that. So he was saying that what set him off is me saying, I'm pleading with you as a father. Ladies and gentlemen, he's alluding to what I said on January 29th, first on First Take, but now on here, on this show, the Stephen A. Smith Show, the same day. I addressed topics on both platforms. Here's what I said on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Play this, please. With LeBron, the best of intentions. Wonderful father by all accounts. I'm not casting any aspersions on him. I'm saying, that's your son, bro. You know the game of basketball. He ain't ready yet. Why put him in that position? You had your moment being on the court with him. Now that kid's got to go earn his stripes, which I believe he will do. Watching him in the G League, you can't do this. You can't continue to let us see what we've been seeing. And I'm wrong. I'm questioning him as a father because I'm saying, yo, wrap your arms around him and say, not now, not just yet. That's questioning somebody's fatherhood. There you have it.
So remember, you heard what he said, right? He's not ready yet. That's what he said. So if you remember, the great Magic Johnson said the same thing. I didn't see LeBron running up on him. Just something to think about. The great Magic Johnson. Remember when he made the quote about how if he was Bronny, he would tell LeBron to let him stay in the G League all year because he's not ready yet. And he doesn't need to be sitting at the end of the Lakers bench. He needs to be developing down there if he wants to be a 15 to 20 minute NBA player someday, right? So why you didn't run up on Magic and tell him, that's my effing son. Stop crapping on my son. Why you didn't do that? Why didn't you run up on Kendrick Perkins when he was talking about it? Why not? What's going on?
That's what LeBron James was talking about. And on First Take that morning, I was saying, I'm pleading with LeBron James. Stop it. Stop this. Yet the LeBron James that approached me said I was shitting on his son. I'm perplexed at the moment because I don't believe I've ever done that. Had he said, you shitting on me and you talking about me as a father, I would have known exactly what he was talking about. And maybe it's best in the moment that I didn't recall that I couldn't decipher what he was saying because I might have said what I was tempted to say. I was talking about you. We sit here more than a month later. I stand by what I said, just like I said on television Friday. Why do I stand on what I said? Why do I stand by what I said? Because it's important that all of you know the back history as it pertains to me. Now we're going to get a little deep. When Bronny James was in high school, I never went to see him play on purpose. I hinted at potentially going over to Sierra Canyon and watching him play, but I never went. And when I spoke about it on the air, I said, the kid, from what I'm being told, has potential, but we all know how great his father is. And we all know what a figure his father is, not just as a player, but in some people's eyes as an activist, and in some people's eyes, in a variety of other ways that can serve to not just galvanize, but polarize certain communities in this country. Folks are looking for an excuse. If I walk into an arena because I'm Stephen A. and to watch a basketball player that is the son of LeBron James, I know that from the moment I depart from there, everyone wants to critique about his game, and I did not want to do that.
So real quick, there's two things here, right? So we heard Stephen A. say how people see LeBron not only as a player, but off the court as an activist. If we're real, what has LeBron really done as an activist? He's worn some T-shirts and he's made some tweets. What has he really done as an activist? We got to stop this, man. We got to stop calling anybody who makes a tweet or wears a T-shirt or makes some hollow gesture an activist. Come on, man. Now, if somebody comes out and tells me, hey, LeBron did A, B, C, and D as an activist, cool. Hey, I wasn't aware of that. I take it all back. No problem. But what has he really done? We got to stop this LeBron is an activist stuff. All right. Second point, he made it a point, and he'll explain why in a minute, but not to go and see Bronny play deliberately because people are going to want to know what he thinks, and he didn't want to have to critique him. So to me, that says off rip, he knew that Bronny wasn't what he was being sold to us as, right? We were being sold a bad bill of goods, right? So that's one. And two, so if you know that we're being sold a bad bill of goods, then you can't tell us. That is your job, right? And later you're going to tell us how you're always going to do your job. So normally I say two things could be true, but this here, he's being flat out disingenuous. But we'll get to it as we go.
So I never went and watched him play in high school out of respect and deference to the James family. He goes to college. He suffers the heart ailment. I mean, my God, it scared the living hell out of us when we all heard the news that for a couple of seconds, he wasn't responsive. You're like, oh my God, we hope he's okay. And I said, to recover from that, you can't judge him on what you see his first year in college because he's not 100% healthy.
Hold on. Why can't you judge him on what you see? He's back on the floor, right? Which means he was cleared by medical to be back on the floor. And we're not just talking the medical that would clear or not clear a Division I college basketball athlete. No. We're talking about, because I guarantee you that wasn't the only medical that saw Bronny. We know that LeBron James has the best of the best when it comes to doctors and all that. So we know that Bronny didn't go to some clinic to get checked out. We know he didn't go to the county hospital to get checked out. We know he went to the best of the best in LA. So if he was cleared to play ball, he was good to go. So let's not utilize that, that cardiac incident which he went through. And again, it's God's blessings that he's here and God's blessings on him and his family. Again, I'm a father. I don't know what I would do if something happened to one of my children. But the point is, we can't now use that as an excuse to say, well, we can't judge what we see on the court because of that. Stop it. So even though now you're a little more fired up, Stephen A., you're trying to defend yourself, you're trying to explain all of this, you're still trying to keep the kid gloves on when it comes to these guys. It is absurd. It really is. Let's see. Stephen A. Deliberately avoided seeing Bronny play. Yes, you did mention this in your call. Absolutely. Opinion stated. You're 100% right. And it's ridiculous. Let's see. You can't judge him because you're choosing to stay neutral. I told you the issue is Stephen A. not staying neutral. No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, and you were kind of right on that. All right, let's keep going.
That's not fair to him because he's LeBron James' son and you're inviting additional scrutiny. So I never went to USC. I'm out here in LA all the time. I'm here now. I've had opportunities to go to USC to watch Bronny James play, but I didn't think it would be fair to him and to LeBron James. So I never went. Then he's entering the draft instead of staying in school. And when he decided to enter the draft and you had people speculating about what he wasn't, it was a colleague of mine by the name of Kendrick Perkins who went on national television as a former All-American with LeBron James in the 2003 All-American class, if I remember correctly, who said in front of the cameras on the record, we've never seen a 14-year-old be named a McDonald's All-American. Bringing it.
So let's stop. Take a quick note of that there, right? So remember I said at the beginning of this, all I have to do is wait. I'll be proven right. So remember, y'all heard me talk about how LeBron greased the skids to get Bronny on the All-America team. Number one, he got him there as a 14-year-old. I didn't even know it happened that early. I thought it happened like in his senior year. But Tim Hardaway Sr. was the one who really leaked that LeBron called the McDonald's All-America people to get Bronny on the team. But I didn't even realize it happened that early. So that's crazy. That's crazy. But, that's LeBron's entitlement. Let's see. Kareem says, so my question is, because all the mainstream media act like it's cool what he did, we should expect other players to step up to media members? I guess so. But the thing is, if other players do this, they're not going to get the same grace LeBron is getting. No one's going to ignore the fact that they do it, right? So, yeah, this is crazy. Opinion stated, the LeBron situation is a classic example of what happens when you cater to a person and then the person becomes out of control based on you boosting them up. They created a monster. Absolutely. And this has been going on since the very beginning, right? It's the same thing like if you have a kid, for those of y'all who are parents, right? If you don't, kids, pets, whatever, if you don't train them right from the beginning, they're going to get to a point where they're going to be completely uncontrollable and you're not going to like the end results of what you get. But let's carry on with Stephen A's comments.
To question the legitimacy of Bronny James being an All-American. I didn't touch it. He gets drafted.
Why didn't you touch it,
but
Stephen
even
A?
when he got drafted, we were told Golden State might have been interested, Phoenix might have been interested, the Clippers were interested, Boston might have been interested, but were dissuaded from grabbing him because LeBron James and Rich Paul and Clutch Sports and those guys have made it very, very clear he's going to be a Laker.
Quick question. Do any of you believe in the chat? Why for yes and for no? I really would like an answer to this. Do you all believe, or do you think it's more media spin and more narrative that all these teams were interested in possibly drafting Bronny, but they didn't out of respect for LeBron and the Lakers? Why for yes and for no? I'm really curious to that, because just until I listened to that clip just now, I don't know why it never hit me before, but I'm like, that sounds like media spin. All these teams were, basically up here to draft the 55th overall pick who we know could barely play. On the NBA level. So that, I don't know why that never occurred to me before, but that's interesting. All right, so we got some no's in the chat. Kareem says media spin. I'm starting to think that too. And no, and more no. I ain't buying it. Hell no. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, gentlemen. All right, let's keep going.
And they honored those wishes. We didn't say anything about that. Opening night, father and son, Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Sr. in attendance. Us.
Quick note, all right? I'm not a baseball fan, right? But I know enough about baseball to know the whole Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. thing. Can we stop comparing Bronny and LeBron to Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr.? One, Ken Griffey Jr. was the far greater player than Ken Griffey Sr. Two, Ken Griffey Jr. was an absolute phenom of a baseball player, which Bronny clearly is not as a basketball player. Three, Ken Griffey Sr. had nothing to do with Ken Griffey Jr. getting drafted to the team he was on. Four, I think that it was arranged that they were trading Ken Griffey Sr. to the team that Ken Griffey Jr. was on. I'm not sure. Was it the Reds? I'm not sure. But the point is, they traded him to the team that drafted Ken Griffey Jr. so that they could play together. So it wasn't all this. It wasn't this unfair power dynamic and manipulation to get Ken Griffey Jr. drafted into the league. I don't know why we make that comparison, I guess, other than to say a father and a son playing on the same team, but it's not even close. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right, let's continue.
Who cover the league knows that people were going to question the merit, which means that the league would be reluctant to embrace this, that the Lakers, the most storied franchise in basketball annals outside of the Boston Celtics, would be reluctant to embrace it. But everybody did. And so did the media. So did I. I was in attendance. I was standing up and I was clapping just like everybody else when he entered the game. And then ultimately the games were played. And all I said was, he's doing great in the G League, but on this level, he's not ready yet for a variety of reasons. Don't do this. Why did I say as a father? If it were a Kenyon Martin and his son, I wouldn't have said that. If it were a Carmelo Anthony and his son, I would not have said that. If it was a Glenn Big Dog Robinson and his son, I would not have said that. If it was Rick Barry and one of his sons, I would not have said that. I would not have said that about any of those folks because none of those folks had made headlines promoting their child to be in the NBA as a player or a star in the league. This son just came in here. Tim Hardaway, let me not forget him. Senior and junior. That didn't happen. Those dudes played and performed and positioned themselves to be in that situation. That wasn't the case here. So for those, including LeBron, that were caught up in me saying, as a father, I'm saying, as a father, you said, I want to play with my son in the NBA.
So it's so interesting, right? How all of a sudden Stephen A knows all of this stuff that all of us intelligent people, all of us intelligent, relatively objective people have been saying for the last, 6 to 8 months since Bronny got drafted. We've all been saying this, but now because LeBron ran up on you and embarrassed you, now you're going to tell the truth. See, this is where it's problematic because to me, it damages your credibility because you knew all this from the beginning. Now, in fairness, he did say that the reason Bronny got drafted is because he's LeBron James's son, but he wasn't telling it all like this, and it's annoying. Opinion Stated says all the things Stephen A should have said something about he was silent on. Facts. There you go. He was on the fence until he decided to take the gloves off, and when he finally did, he got vilified for it. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, he did see it the whole time. But and that's why I'm annoyed because, and he'll address this later, actually. When you tell the truth about stuff, you get called a hater, you get called a sellout, this, that, and the third. Shout out Bruce. You know what you had to say about Stephen A, but it's crazy. So but we'll get to all of that. But yes, Opinion Stated, it is important to just keep it real. And that's what I try to do. I get called a hater a lot, but I really don't care. I just try to keep it 100 and I try to be as objective as I possibly can. Is anyone objective all the time, 100% of the time? No, but I try to be as objective as I can be. All right, let's go on.
You said, I don't care if you want me, draft Bronny. At this point, it's not about the money. I don't care where it is. I'll play there. I just want to have a year with my son. It was you that said, despite high school, despite the heart ailment, he's better than some of the players in the league. So when I was saying, as a dad, don't do it, I wasn't just talking about Bronny, the player. I was talking about the dad saying the things that he was saying that was only adding pressure to the son.
Does any of this sound familiar, y'all? Does any of this sound familiar? I mean, come on. I said all this a long time ago, but I'm a hater. All I do is wake up every day looking for a reason to hate on LeBron and hate on another black man, right? But suddenly, another black man with a much more prominent voice in the sports media than my own is echoing all these sentiments. Amazing how this works. Let's go.
That's what I was doing. So I've never, ever, ever been about being critical of Bronny. I've gone out of my way being who I am in the position that I am in to avoid even critiquing him for years out of respect for the James family. Rich Paul knows that. Adam Medelson knows that. Maverick Carter knows that. Opposing agents and players, former and present, who would ask me why I wouldn't do it, know my position. It was on the record. There's clips of it on First Take.
So just to understand this, right? And I get everybody's not the same in life. I get it. But I want to understand, is Stephen A telling us that LeBron and his family deserve more respect than every other player in the league and their family? I just want to make sure I got that right.
That was my position. So when he said to me, stop shitting on my son, I'm like, what are you talking about? But then something happened, and a light bulb hit in my ear. And that was him with Richard Jefferson. LeBron James with Richard Jefferson. You saw the video. So when he sat up there and said, when I'm talking as a dad, right? That's the only thing. That's the only thing I'm tripping. I don't give a F. Once he talks about you I plead as a father, I can't. So it wasn't about Bronny. It was about him. Those are his words. Once he said as a father, that was about him.
Wow. Wait a minute. So let me understand this. Stephen A just finished saying it wasn't about Bronny. It was about him being LeBron. Where have y'all heard that before? And that's what I was about to say. Shout out Sid Bubba, because when you called the other day, you definitely broke it down when you were talking about how LeBron was just tired of it and he used Bronny as the excuse to go after Stephen A. And I've also said from the beginning that this whole thing had nothing to do with Bronny. I mean, just not even this incident, but the entire thing with Bronny has been about LeBron from the very beginning. And now, amazing how, let me say it again, if I sit back and wait long enough, I'm going to be proven right when it comes to LeBron. And lo and behold, I was proven right again. Wow, amazing how that works. Shout out Sid Bubba for calling and spitting truth the other day as well, man. I appreciate you. Let's go.
which was my point January 29th. It's been about you. I don't want to have a critical word about Bronny James at this stage of his career.
Why not?
I completely agree with LeBron's agent and the
I
head of
don't.
Clutch Sports, Rich Paul. We don't always agree. As a matter of fact, most of the time we don't agree at all, but we talk and I respect the hell out of him. And he made very valid points. And I want to emphasize, Rich is just class. And I got a lot of love for Rich because he's decent at his core and he's going to call you and talk to you man to man. He would have never did what LeBron James did Thursday night.
Funny, now he is calling out LeBron James' behavior publicly. Now notice, right? This is the same guy who, in this same episode, earlier in his soliloquy, right? LeBron James is this, he's that, he's this wonderful family man and philanthropist and da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Now he's saying, you just heard him, Rich Paul is all class. He never would have done what LeBron James did Thursday night. So you're telling us either you're lying in the way you describe LeBron James or LeBron is a liar. Which one is it? Stephen A is telling us that he's been lying about the way he describes LeBron James because he just finished saying Rich Paul is all class and LeBron would never have behaved the way and that Rich Paul would never have behaved the way LeBron did Thursday night, right? So if Rich Paul is all class and LeBron would never behave the way LeBron did, that says LeBron is not all class. So that means you've been lying to us all this time with your effusive praise of LeBron James. Isn't it amazing how when these dudes start talking, it all comes out and they all get exposed? This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Let's keep going.
He never would have done that, but that's neither here nor there. But Rich Paul made a point that Bronny should be contextualized and presented better. I agree with him on that. There's plenty of dudes in the NBA and who have been in the NBA over the years that have been drafted in the second round who struggle initially.
Real quick, did you hear what he said? Let me go back because I want you guys to hear this specifically, okay? Listen to this and I'll point it out.
There's plenty of dudes in the NBA.
Oh, sorry, wrong clip. Let me go back a little further.
What LeBron James did Thursday night. He never would have done that, but that's neither here nor there. But Rich Paul made a point that Bronny should be contextualized and presented better. I agree with him on that.
Did you hear that? Bronny should be contextualized and presented better. Now, here's another thing. How long have I been telling y'all that LeBron James has been manufactured this whole way, right? Everything is about the way they present him. Remember the other day I was talking about the 50,000 points. That's a perfect example, right? And how no other player ever in history, granted, again, I want to make sure I say this, 50,000 career points total is an insane achievement, one we never could have seen before, right? Now, I get that, but let's put that to the side for a second. Remember I said we've never seen any other player in history get their totals presented to us before, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has over 48,000 career points between regular season and postseason. But look at what they do with LeBron. They tell us 50,000 to package it better, to present it better, to make us see it and feel a certain way. They never did that for Kareem. All they ever told us about was his 38,000 career regular season points. Why is that, right? This is what I talk about. When it comes to LeBron, everything is managed and presented a certain way to make you see it a certain way, make you feel a certain way. And this is what I mean when I say everything with him is manufactured. And now, out of Rich Paul's own mouth, we need to contextualize Bronny, and he needs to be presented a certain way. Stephen A. Smith is telling it all now. He's telling it all. We see it. We hear it. He's telling it all. Let's go.
Plenty of dudes in the NBA and who have been in the NBA over the years that have been drafted in the second round who struggle initially before getting their bearings under them and ultimately elevating their level of play. He is absolutely right. The reason why it's different for Bronny as opposed to others is because he's LeBron James' son. The NIL deals, the 4-year, $8 million contract, all of these other things that come with it that doesn't happen for the average 55th pick overall in the second round of an NBA draft. The fact of the matter is that there's plenty of dudes that have come in the second round and it takes them a couple of years, in some cases longer, to get their bearings under them. He is absolutely right. But having said all of that, that again buffers my point. It was never about Bronny. I wouldn't do that to a kid. It was about his dad.
Let me just remind you again, who said that? Me and my main man, Chief Sid Bubba. We both said it. We told you. I told you as soon as that dude got drafted, and Sid Bubba told you a number of times when he called into this show. It's not about Bronny. It's about LeBron. And now Stephen A is out here telling the truth. This is beautiful. Yeah, GoatCast Hoops, absolutely, man. They are packaging that whole 50K thing so that we can receive that point total in a certain way. And they have never done that for any other player, right? They didn't do that for Kareem at 40,000. They didn't do that for Kareem at 45,000. I'm old enough to know they didn't do that, right? They didn't do it for Mike when he hit, whatever it was that he hit. I think he's got 38,000 career points total, 38,000 plus. I didn't look up Kobe's, but the point is they didn't do that for anyone else except LeBron. It is manufactured. It is packaged to make us see this guy a certain way. And if he was what they say he is, they wouldn't need to do all that. But let's go on. That's a whole different argument.
And it wasn't about his dad even wanting him in the NBA. It's the things he said and the things he maneuvered and manipulated in order to get his son to wear the same uniform as him, which brought that attention. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I want to get into a conversation about me because of how some folks have been attacking me. Not over this, but using this as an excuse to accuse me of hating on the brothers. I'm sick of that shit.
This part I like. And part of the reason I like it is because I can, to some extent, identify with it, right? Again, I don't have anywhere the experience in this realm, nor the gravitas that Stephen A. Smith has, right? But kind of, I'll just say, coming from the upbringing that I come from, two immigrant parents from South America, and I've spoken to this before. I reference this more so when discussing Emmanuel Acho, right? And it allows me to see things in a way that many African Americans don't see things, right? In terms of, so there's kind of this mindset that all black people, and I don't like getting into the racial lane, but I got to touch on this because Stephen A is kind of speaking to it, that there's this mindset among African Americans that all black people got to see things the same and got to behave the same, or they're not black, or they're not black enough, or what have you, right? Or if you're objective and if you don't cape for everything another black person does, then you're a sellout. And Stephen A is going to speak to this. And I kind of feel him on this. And I feel him on this because I've heard the way, unfortunately, a lot of people in the African-American community, which, by the way, is very diverse. It doesn't just fit in one neat little box, but in the way many African-Americans speak regarding Stephen A. Smith. So let's continue.
I'm not backing up from that anymore. I'm not taking it from people anymore. I'm not just a black man. I'm a brother. I'm not going to take this shit from people anymore. I'm going on Gilbert Arenas' podcast tomorrow. Gil's Arena with Rashad McCants, with Kenyon Martin, Swaggy P, Nick Young, and the crew. I can't wait. I can't wait for that conversation. I'm not taking this shit no more from people. I've had it with this because it's incidents like this that people try to piggyback off of. And they try to use it as an excuse to talk about me hating on brothers. Me, the brother who is the ambassador for HBCU Week, that's generated millions in scholarship dollars for thousands of kids. Me, who's helped diversify ESPN with the opportunities as executive producer of First Take, black folks, men and women period, white as well, any minority you can find. Me, I'm me, who has worked in this business for 30 years. Think about what I know. Think about what I've seen. Think about how much incriminating stuff that I could say. Think about how many incriminating facts I have. And I'm talking about the game. But literally, these brothers act like if this were boxing and a black dude knocked another black dude out. And I talked about the black dude that got knocked out. It's black on black crime. But
yeah, for real. Unfortunately, there's this strange mentality like, objectivity when it comes to black people makes you a sellout of some sort. I'll never figure out why that is. I think it's terrible, but let's go on.
Brother that knocked him out, you just going to ignore the praise I gave him. Javante Davis fights Lamont Roach last week. It was a majority draw because he took a knee. If the ref had counted that, Javante Davis should have lost the fight. Me saying that means I'm hating on a brother? Man,
I tell you what, I said the same thing and I got destroyed. Right? I got destroyed. I got called for slander in Javante. I got called a Javante hater. I hate Baltimore. I hate this. I hate that. I'm like, whoa. I'm just freaking giving a simple example. Not even an example. I'm speaking a simple truth. Had the referee counted that as a knockdown, he would have lost the fight. Like, that is what it is, no matter how anyone feels about it, right? But you get called a hater for stating simple, objective truth. Goat Hoops, I'm looking very much forward to watching that episode. I don't anticipate coming back discussing that unless it just goes nuclear, but I am very much looking forward to watching that episode. All right, we got 30 in the chat, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break, 5-second break. Please hit that like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, but hit that like button for me, man. I really need that. It helps a lot. It helps the channel grow. And obviously, you know, it's good for everybody. And as the channel grows and continues to do what we do, it'll be better. The channel will go on to bigger, better things. And I really appreciate y'all, man. So just please take a second and do that. And let me go ahead and pull this up, make sure I like it myself. We're live right now. Let me mute it. There we go. All right. Good stuff. 34 watching, 23 likes. Can we get those likes up to match the amount of people that are watching right now? I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's go on. Let's see. From one Celtics fan to another, shout out to the Format Podcast. Thank you, D Pound Frequency. I appreciate you, man. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do that. All right, let's continue. Opinion and Bruce, why you can't, all they're going to do is lie and mock Rashad. You know what? That's going to be interesting. Yeah, they go at Rashad tough, man, because he's not really he doesn't drink the LeBron Kool-Aid. He's a big Kobe guy. And but what he says often is true. I'm not saying all the time, and I don't watch every episode, but he speaks a lot of truth. He doesn't necessarily fall into the whole LeBron thing. And Kmart is funny too, because he's back and forth with the LeBron thing. Like, he gives him credit, but at the same time, he'll tell the truth about it. But we know where Gil is on that. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing. Maybe Stephen A will hold these guys to some sort of account. Maybe Rashad McCants will hold these guys to some sort of account. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. But let's get back to Stephen A's commentary.
What the hell has this world come to? But this is the stuff that I'm being subjected to. I'm not taking it anymore. I see players, I ain't gonna even mention their names right now. I got plenty of time to do that. But LeBron is one of them. A week before he confronted me, remember he said, watching somebody be the face of the league, well, all these dudes do is go on the air in the mornings and shit on players. He was talking about me. Why? Because I got you number 2 all time? I
actually thought that he was referring more to Charles Barkley and the Inside the NBA guys, but now it makes sense that he probably was referring to Stephen A. Smith as well.
I think LeBron James is the greatest player in the history of man outside of Michael Jordan. I don't have him as number 1. Great father, great husband, great actor, great businessman, great family man, great philanthropist, great producer. What haven't I said? 4-time champion, 4-time league MVP, all-time leading scorer in NBA history right now, surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. What? Real quick.
And let me be clear. I'm not saying that he isn't any of those things, but how does Stephen A know that LeBron James is a great father and a great husband? How does he know that? Does he live in the house with him? And I'm not saying LeBron isn't those things. I'm just curious to know, because Stephen A says that all the time and speaks very definitively to it. So how does he know that? I'm just curious. I mean, I think that's interesting, but let's go.
Have I not said? Come on, man. But they've been talking. These players, some of them, not most, not all, but a few. You know what they've been trying to do, right? In my opinion, what they've been trying to do is accuse me of selling out for the purposes of making it difficult for me to walk the streets as a black man amongst my peoples, treating me like I'm not down. And I got to come on here on a public platform and speak about the challenges and the trials and tribulations that I have had to endure to help us, just because I'm critiquing your game. And too many of y'all have allowed them to get away with it. That's the real story here. Because LeBron told Richard Jefferson, and by virtue of doing that, told all of y'all, it wasn't about his son. It was about him. Because I said, as a father. But you're going to forget the quote you gave. You're going to forget how you were bloviating about him. You're going to forget the fact that I said before he ever played a game, don't do that, because you're bringing more attention on him, which means he's going to be more heavily scrutinized. And then you're going to get mad at us for pointing out what you were saying.
Isn't that crazy? How long have I been saying that? LeBron is the one who painted the target on him. He said all this stuff. How long have we all been saying that? I know I was saying it from the beginning. I know I've said it from the beginning. I know I heard Sid Bubba say it. I'm sure some of you guys in the chat said it as well. This is crazy. Real quick, D-Pound Frequency. I don't have LeBron as number 2 overall either. I actually don't have Kareem as number 2. I have Kareem as number 3. I have Magic as number 2. So I hope you're not too mad about that. But yeah, let's go on.
But we forget that. You can make a legitimate case that I am on the air more than anyone in this country. You can make that argument. I can speak 95, 98% of the times positively. The crime is not that 2 to 5% of the times I might speak negatively that you have a problem with it. It's that these folks today have been allowed to use that 2 to 5% of the time to accuse me of hating and selling out my own, to the point where it's supposed to be difficult for me to do my job. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to call it like I see it. There's going to be compassion involved. There's going to be tendencies of humanity involved. It's going to be all of that. But the one thing you can rest assured is I'm going to always do my job. And when it came to this particular incident with LeBron James, as I see him talking, the one thing that I asked Rich Paul for, give me grace on this one thing, Rich. If LeBron said to you, he is irate, he is pissed, he wants to see Stephen A face to face, man to man, and you picked up the phone, Rich, and you called me and you said, LeBron James wants to see me, what would I have said? Rich Paul said you would have hung up the phone and you would have been on the next flight to LA.
What is LeBron? Some type of mob boss? The boss wants to see you. You got to come running. You got to leave your sick child on his deathbed. Well, what is this? LeBron has that much power. LeBron wants to see you, so you hang up the phone. You on the next flight to LA? Like what? Seriously? Like you don't have stuff to do too? Crazy, man. This is insane. Deep pound frequency. You have LeBron at number 12. I think he's right around 11 or 12. Yeah. See, the problem with LeBron, and he knows this, his incredible statistical achievements over time have made it really difficult to drop him that low. But for me, the bigger issue is not necessarily him. It's who can I, in good conscience, move him ahead of in my top 10, whether it's Mike, Magic, Kareem, Bird, Hakeem, Shaq, Wilt, Mr. Russell, Kobe, not necessarily in that order. What's my man's name? Tim Duncan. You know, like who can I, in good conscience, move him ahead of in my top 10? I don't know. So that's where the problem is for me. Darrell Ellie, so surprised. Kobe, T-Mac, Iverson, Vince, not in the conversation now. I don't know, man. I don't think I've seen you before, Darrell. If you've been here before, I appreciate you coming back. Make sure you click that like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd appreciate that. Hit the share button as well. All right, let's get back to the commentary.
That is exactly true. But LeBron James didn't do that because he didn't want to, because we don't have a relationship, because I'm not about calling it like he wants me to see it. I'm about calling it like I see it. That is the way that I have been. That is the way that I am. And that is the way that I'm always going to be.
All right. So you're saying you don't call it the way he wants you to call it. You call it the way you see it. But that's not the case. When you sat there and told us just a little while ago how you deliberately didn't go see Bronny because you didn't want to have to be critical. So you took the what's the word? You took the way around. You subverted the track so that you wouldn't have to say what you had to say. Like, this is tough, man. This is really tough. I don't know, man. But the point is, here's the thing, right? The reason I wanted to play this is because all the stuff you're hearing is all stuff you've heard before. And it keeps getting back to the one thing that I always say. All I have to do is wait long enough and LeBron is going to prove me right every time. He's always going to prove me right. I just got to sit back and wait. You know, so it is. Let's see. Tawdry B says the whole reason Stephen A. Smith is having a meltdown, these prognosticators, so-called journalists, are too busy trying to be cool with and in with the players. They stop being objective journalists. So, okay, as somebody who is a trained journalist and has worked in that field and has been credentialed and been in locker rooms and post-game pressers and all that, it's a balance, man. It is a balance. I get what you're saying, Tawdry Beast, and I would never denigrate Stephen A's journalistic chops, but I think what happens is he's now in a position, like he said the other day, you know, he used to cover them. Now he talks about them, right? And so he's in a totally different position. He's in an opinion space now, not a journalistic space. So he can just give his thoughts on stuff more so rather than reporting exactly what did or is happening at the moment. So I think that's the difference, right? A lot of times we kind of get confused or we don't know how to separate between journalists and opinionists, right? That's two different things, because there are some opinionists who aren't journalists and they'll tell you that, right? They're not. So it's a tough line to walk, man. I try to remember my journalistic principles when I'm doing this. I'm sure sometimes I'm not 100% in line with them. I try to be, but you know, we all mess up. But yeah, it's a tough spot, definitely. All right. So yeah, man, those are those are my thoughts. That's what Stephen. Yeah, the importance with opinion is it has to be objective. Absolutely, opinion stated. And you're a lot like me. I've heard you say this on your show when you say you give your opinions, but you try to back it with fact, right? Because that's a big thing with me. I give my opinions all the time, but I try to back it with fact. Because my thing is, it could be my opinion that 1 + 1 = 5. You hear me use that analogy all the time, but it's never going to equal 5. It's always going to equal 2, right? So the facts are that 1 + 1 = 2. And there's a lot of people who believe, well, it's my opinion. My opinion can't be wrong. Well, that's a damn lie. There's a lot of people throughout history who've had some crazy opinions, but those opinions were wrong, right? Stand on truth and the facts. Yeah, you're 100% right. Opinion stated. All right, y'all. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go too much further in this. I'm going to just open these phone lines up because y'all are great in the chat. I would love to hear some new voices, and I would just love to hear you guys. That doesn't mean my classics, my day ones can't call in, of course. But I would also love to hear some new voices, man, and just give you guys his thoughts on this because, I mean, Stephen A, he just he won't stop, man. He just keeps going at it. So yeah, y'all know the number 904-219-8264, 904-219-8264. I would love to hear from you guys. Opinion stated says opinions can't be false. It's just that opinion. No, that's not true. Opinion stated. All right, I'm gonna give you one right here, right? It was people's opinions for centuries, right? That Black people were mentally inferior and physically superior and made only for being slaves, right? They even had some degenerate pseudoscience that was pushing that. But we know that's a faulty opinion, right? We know that was a false opinion. So, it is, you can have a false opinion. Sid Bubba, what's going on, my brother? How you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing great.
That's right. You another one out here telling the truth, Sid Bubba.
I told you the truth.
Yes, sir.
Just doing the math.
That's right.
It just didn't make any logical sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
What this really is about to me is who is controlling the narrative.
Great point.
That's what it's about. Stephen A. got the $100 million contract.
Mm-hmm. So he don't have to kowtow anymore.
He do. Yes, he do.
You think so?
Guess what? Why do you think he had to address the issue the way he did? Because the bosses never said, Stephen A., you got to do it. That's what he said.
Right. Well, I mean, you're always going to have bosses. Yeah, I got you.
But I'm just saying, when it comes to, when it comes to the community, now, if it's not like you, see the difference between having your own and you got a boss at Disney, Stephen, they got to kind of go with what they say.
Right.
And we see that.
Right.
You don't have to.
Right.
That's a huge difference. That's the difference. When you're independent, you can make your own. But when you got somebody else that's above you, you kind of got to push their narrative. Because I've seen at times with Stephen A., when the bosses said it was the domestic violence thing with Ray Rice back in the day. When I got what Stephen A. said, women and men, women shouldn't do that.
I remember. That's right. I remember that.
You had to go ahead and do a big old apology.
Right.
So so when I look at that, man, having your own, that's why I'm glad, Bruce, whether me and you agree or we disagree, I know you stand on your own, and I respect that. I try to,
man. Hey, caller from 305. I see you. We're on a call right now. Call back after this. I see you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but to me, that's what it's about. LeBron wants to present the package of his legacy. Stephen A. said, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it my way. This is what I see. But then when Charles Barkley kind of seen the beef going back and forth, that's what's ruining it in the NBA.
That's right.
Because guess what? It's more a story about those than what's on the game.
No, that's a fact. And
I think that has to.
Do you think, while I got you on the line, Sid Bubba, I want to hear this. Do you think that the NBA likes this that's going on? Because it sure is bringing a lot of attention, but it's not putting the attention, as you said, on the game where it should be. Do you think the NBA likes this?
Oh, if it make money, they love it.
Okay.
If it makes money, they gonna love it.
Right.
That's part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If that generates money and the buzz, that's kind of where they gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, and I kind of ride with Stephen A. I think I'm a LeBron guy.
Yeah, I know.
But I think what he should have done, the optics of how black men handle things.
Yeah.
It looked like reality drama TV show.
Yeah.
And in reality, brothers shouldn't handle things that way.
No, you're right.
That's the biggest thing with me about
Agreed.
You're Stephen A. You got $100 million. You got the mouthpiece over the world. LeBron, you a billionaire. Everybody know you all over the world. Then they kind of see this. Nah, that ain't cool.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're absolutely right, Sid Bubba. That's
that'd be cool. That's something I think both of them is, because now it's gonna be like, oh, how dare you go with me, and then kind of go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Man, time to redirect that energy back into the game.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great point. And listen, I encourage all of you to actually go check out yesterday's episode of the Stephen A. Smith Show and hear his full commentary on that. It was interesting because later in the discussion, well, not a discussion because it's just him, but later in his soliloquy, one of the things he says was, people are talking about LeBron was towering over me. And that's funny because that's exactly what I had said about it before, in the attempts of not that he was going to physically accost him, but that he wanted to put the image out there that he was herbing Stephen A. Smith, right? So he's like, LeBron was towering over me. He's like, but what was he going to do? This is what Stephen A. said. What was he going to do? Was he going to hit me there? That wasn't going to happen because Stephen A. already know, man, if he had hit me, I'd have had 500 mil. You know what I mean? Stephen A. would have been on the ground like, Stephen A. would have been working with a neck brace on and all that.
Here's the second thing.
Yeah.
LeBron never runs up on nobody.
No, and right.
That's what about all these years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could have when he won in Miami. He could have told Skip.
Right.
He went up there, faced him, and did. He did.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
he could have ran up on Skip. He could have ran up on K Perk. He could have ran up on Magic. He could have ran up on Chuck. None of them.
But he ain't gonna do that.
Nah.
But it's the thing that because guess who he thinks controls the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen A.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a battle. That's the beef. Who controls the sports narrative? And it's a power play. That's what's going on.
That's a great point, Sid Bubba.
It's a power play. So you got ego maniacs. Because believe me, Stephen A. got ego now.
Oh, what? You already know he does.
He got his views. He walk in, swag, suited, booted, look you up and down, and call your scrub to your face.
Absolutely.
So that's what it's about. So that's what it's about.
No, you're absolutely right, Sid Bubba. Man, there you go, man. You're bringing the wisdom. You're bringing the wisdom to the pod, man. I appreciate that. Definitely.
I appreciate that.
No doubt,
I'm going to let you go ahead and get these other callers in, Bruce.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for calling, man. I appreciate it.
All right.
Caller from South Florida, 305. Go ahead, call back. Definitely want to hear from you. Caller from South Florida, call back. That was a great point Sid Bubba made, and I hadn't thought about that either. Sid Bubba got my brain going, man, with this topic, man. No, that's great that LeBron is upset because he's going at the person who he believes controls the narrative, and he needs that control. That was an absolutely great point. Let's see. GoCast Hoop says SAS is extremely rude in person, was disrespectful to my niece while she was working at a hotel where he stayed. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's tough. The only thing I'll say about that, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all, GoCast. The only thing I'll say is we never know how someone's day is going, and you might catch them at a bad time. Now, does that give them the right to disrespect anyone or be rude? Absolutely not. But we never know what's going on with somebody on a particular day. But I totally get your point, though. That's fair. That's fair. Let's see. Caller from South Florida, 305, waiting for you. Definitely want to hear what you got to say. In the meantime, Anybody else wants to give their thoughts on this, definitely would like to hear you. Whether you agree or disagree, I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. But yeah, man, this whole thing is crazy. But okay, here we go. Let's take this call. Format Podcast. Who's this?
Hey man, it's Tawdry B.
Oh, what's up, Tawdry B? How you doing, man?
I dig what you're doing. I wanted to call in and full disclosure, I'm not a LeBron guy. I feel like since high school, this whole thing just felt like a psyop to me.
Okay.
But more full disclosure, I'm in the entertainment business, so
okay.
All it feels like a psyop to me, right?
Okay, I got you.
I know what goes on behind the scenes, so I feel almost phony to me. But I'm not a Stephen A. guy.
Right.
But full disclosure, he's a dude from my neighborhood, and I know, and we in the same age bracket.
Okay.
I hooped in the same circles as him. He's
got
a scrub.
I was about to ask, is he really any good? Because when he tells that story about how, he worked, and then when he went to Winston-Salem State, he said in his book that they had some special tryout for him, and he hit 17 threes in a row and got a scholarship on the spot.
Look, I don't know. That's his story.
right.
I can't speak to it.
Okay.
I can speak to high school. He played with my cousin. They played on the same high school team.
Okay.
My cousin was a freshman. He got minutes. Stephen A. was a senior. He didn't get minutes.
Okay. That's funny because Whitlock has been destroying that story for a while, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. Like in Queens, during that time span, the key stuff was, without getting all into Stephen A.'s BS, but the key stuff back in then, we was tournament. It wasn't AAU yet. It was like tournament.
Right.
We played for Riverdale, Gaucho.
Yeah, my brother played for both of those. Yo.
Yeah, we had all the park tournaments. And the drug dealers used to get us sneakers and all that.
No doubt. I know about all that.
And me and my cousins played and all that. So
okay.
I played with two of his teammates. One was my cousin, and the star of his team was this kid Shamik, who was my neighbor. Like we all played in the same hood.
Yeah.
My school was right next to his, so I went to Jamaica High School. He went to Thomas Edison. All I'm gonna say
my brother
about
went
that,
to Thomas Edison. Okay.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say about that is that in the neighborhood, I'm gonna keep it 100. I just don't remember him like that. If I don't remember you like that,
right?
You wasn't really.
You wasn't special, right?
You wasn't really hooping, and it's like, there was the name brand dudes back in that day when he was talking about the young heads, like, we had a lot of name brand dudes around the way, like Boo Harvey and Kenny Anderson. And Kenny Smith was a slightly older head.
Yeah.
But, and then the out of the borough.
Yeah.
There was big names like Rod Strickland.
Of course.
And Pearl.
Chris Mullin.
Yeah. Chris was crazy.
Yeah.
So Walter Berry, it was like we had a whole little ecosystem. All I can say, I can't say what he did or didn't do. All I'm gonna say is personally, I don't remember it.
Okay.
Not other than riding the bench with my cousin.
Right.
Right. So as a senior, you're not getting minutes as a senior. I don't know how you getting those scholars. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Make it make sense, kind of thing. Anyway, what I called to say is, back to your point, I understand the balance between journalism and being an op-ed type person, right? You're doing opinion stuff.
Right.
But here's the thing. I think that these guys are too busy fighting for access.
Yes.
Right? So you got to keep access.
Yeah.
You gotta have the inside people and all this nonsense.
Yeah. And if you talk a certain way, the access gets cut off. And an NBA insider that I have spoken to told me that very thing. Because I asked him, like, hey, listen, what's the deal? Why nobody can tell the truth about LeBron? Because this person is one of the few in the media that is very objective about LeBron, but somehow doesn't get lambasted for it. So I said, how do you get away with that? And how is it that so many people are not, able to do it? And he's like, people are afraid of losing access. But this person, he's been in the game for, covering the NBA for more than 30 years. But yeah, you're 100% right. It's access.
It's the access thing. And my other thing is, not to get on some soapbox stuff, but again, as a black man who works in entertainment, it's a hard grind, and I just was never willing to do the whole puffy party thing.
Okay.
But I managed to carve out a great living, just playing at the shallow end of the pool, right? I just feel like the NBA being such a predominantly black sport with predominantly black prognosticators, we just gotta find a better way to like get at each other than the way like this soap opera we putting on television for these people. You feel me?
Mm-hmm,
like we putting on a dance for them. We're dancing for them.
Okay.
It's too much, man.
I don't normally feel that way, but this particular situation is not good at all, man. I don't normally see it that way, but yeah, this whole thing is crazy,
game,
man.
you gonna go stand over the dude and all this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of either one,
Right?
but
Right.
I'm also not a fan of these two black men and LeBron, instigated or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. Seriously, this is what we doing?
Yeah.
And who's that for? It's like your previous caller said.
Mm-hmm.
That's for them to get money.
Yeah. It's all right. A power play and a money play. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like we doing this jig to these people.
So
a sport that used to be respectable.
So I don't even know if it's necessarily that, right? My bigger thing with LeBron specifically, this is a dude who's just used to getting his way his entire life, right? He's an only child, right? So we know only children get their way. Whatever his mom or whoever could have gave him, he got that, never had to share, right? And then by the time he got realized as a basketball prodigy, everything was handed to him from there, right? 16 years old, you got the Hummer, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got the Nike deal before you even hit the league and do anything. You come in the league, you're basically branded as the chosen one and all of that. So now I'm not saying that he hasn't put in hard work to be where he is. I would be very disingenuous if I said that. So that's not the case. But with that said, he still is a dude who's had everything given to him. So, when suddenly you're not getting things exactly how you want it, it's going to upset you and you're going to throw a tantrum, which he did. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's more disclosure.
Okay.
I'm technically the only child because my sister was out of the house. She was older than me.
Okay.
I grew up in a nice house in Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say the thing that people don't like to get into. But I also had a father who, when I graduated from elementary school, my gift from graduating from elementary school is I got you a job. Right? It's like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, I spent the summer,
Yeah.
delivering newspapers and painting
Okay.
people's garages and cutting lawns.
Yeah.
And my father told me at I remember my mom told me to do something and I was in the backyard doing something, crying a little bit. My father he told me at I was like 11 years old. He's like, yo, you a man now?
Yeah.
Crying
it's a
and
fact.
women and babies.
Hey, man. But
your face, yo.
But right. But see, Bron he didn't have that. He didn't have any male role model to teach him these things, And again, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Right. I'm not gonna say that.
Everybody loving him.
Yeah. And again, that's not to say that somebody who grew up in a situation where they didn't have a role model can't grow up to be a stand-up guy. That's not what we're saying.
Absolutely.
But there's a reason why, there's a reason why God made it how he made it. And all the statistics bear it out that, a two-parent environment and having a male involved and helping you raise.
Just making up.
Yeah. So
and like I said, having my father split my ass,
and
I do the same thing in my child. You
same.
know what I mean? Like,
me
she
too.
gets mad. She's like, "Oh, you so hard on me." I'm like, "Look, if you think I'm hard on you,
right?" I tell my son that all the time.
Extra hard on you. And and she's doing her thing and getting to a point where she's about to be making more money than me. But that was that tough love.
Facts.
It's hard out here, especially for people of color. So a lot of things that LeBron, I sympathize with a lot of his stuff where I may not empathize. And I understand that he's going through some things that a lot of us have not gone through, his trajectory of life is very different than what some of us other people have gone through. So you got to give him some grace for that. But he's kind of handled like a lot of this stuff just terribly as a forget color, forget as a person. At what point do you kind of see yourself and go, I'm doing a little bit too much, and he don't have that button, that he doesn't have that switch. So until he retires, we're going to be dealing with these kinds of things. Like, it didn't occur to him what kind of look it was on national television to get in Stephen A's face and do this whole thing. Like, it didn't even pop in his head.
That's crazy that it wouldn't, though. You know what I'm saying?
But you and me is crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
He's never had that. Nobody's telling him no.
Mm-hmm. No,
Nobody.
you're right. Yeah, that's a good point.
No. So that's my whole thing. I would like to see these black men kind of come at each other a little bit better than how we seem to come at each other. But I work in entertainment. I'm behind the scenes dude. So all my stuff is handled behind the scenes.
I got you. Like, as it should be.
Yeah, I don't like seeing this kind of public psychological black on black crime. And that's probably naive of me in certain ways.
Yeah, but I get your point, though.
But it's too much of it right now.
Yeah. No doubt.
Whether it's Whitlock and Stephen A. going at each other or whatever. It's just all this constant Kwame going at Stephen A. You know, Stephen A. do seem to be in the middle of a lot of this. But you know what I'm saying?
That's a good point, too. That's a great point. Yeah.
Like, sometimes you pull
if everybody got a problem with you, you might want to look at yourself. Yeah, no doubt.
Look in the mirror.
Yes, indeed.
That, man. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you, man.
Thank you a donation or something, man. I just stumbled across your show, and I like how you support yourself. And
I appreciate that, brother.
Keep doing what you're doing, man.
No doubt, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, shout out to Queens, New York City, man. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to New York City, man. Got Tawdry Beast from Queens. Okay. Tawdry Beast from Queens, my man Kareem from Brooklyn.
I know y'all hate 50, but he's speaking the truth because he's from Southside.
Nah, man, it's all love, man. It's all love. I appreciate it, though, fam.
Look, Donald Trump is from Southside, too, but...
well, there you go.
Blame him no more.
No doubt. Well, thanks so much for calling, man. I appreciate you. I'm going to lock your number in, all right? Don't be a stranger. All right, man. Shout out New York City, man. No place like it. No place like it. That's funny. Go Cast Hoops, you wrong for that, by the way. You're very wrong for that. Kareem Duncombe, how do I know that he didn't have a male role model? No, I don't know. And that's funny that you said Bruce voice, because he definitely would have responded that way. No, I don't know, but I will say the vast majority of men that have a male role model don't move the way that he moves. You know what I'm saying? So that's where my assumption comes from. I speak on it often. We know for a fact that, you know, he came from the single mother household. We know that. So other than that, I don't know the details of who his role models were. But I'm just saying, when you see somebody that grew up with a father that's properly, you know, training them, motivating them, teaching them, they don't move the way he moves. So it is what it is. Let's see. All right. I'll wait another minute or two. Let's see if we get any more calls. If not, I'll go ahead and I'll kill this one right here. And yeah, we'll let it go. And then we will see you next time. Let's see. MJ on TV raised LeBron. Sid Bubba, you're not right, man. You're not right. But he did say he tried to do everything he did. He said he had the leg sleeve and he rolled the top down so you could see the red. He said he put the wristband on his forearm. He said he's trying to do things he shouldn't have been doing before he tried to do them. So, I mean, I guess maybe MJ on TV did raise LeBron. So be it. You know, a lot of people wanted to be like Mike, right? So I get it. All right. Well, look, I'm going to leave it right here. Looks like we're not going to get any more calls on the topic. Definitely was hoping I would hear from Bruce or whoever else. But look, everybody who's been here, thanks so much. I enjoy it. Hopefully, unless Stephen A goes nuclear or some craziness happens on Gil's Arena when he shows up today, hopefully this is the last time I'll have to address this topic. But Gil's Arena might go bonkers, so we might be back talking about this stuff some more. But again, man, thanks so much for y'all being here. Thank you for the continued support. I really appreciate all y'all, man. I do. You guys really make it worth, you know, getting on here and spending an hour or 2 hours at a time doing this, man. I love kicking it with y'all. I love giving my thoughts. I love hearing you guys' thoughts. I love seeing your interaction in the chat. I love seeing your interaction with the calls, man. I can't say it enough. Thank you. Thank you, everybody who liked the video today. I think we maxed out at 30 or 32. We got 30 likes, so thank you so much for that. And listen, again, if you're enjoying the show, please share the show. Share the show, because I know we all talk to a bunch of people in our circles that love sports talk. So share the show. Let's continue to make it grow. And yeah, that's it. We out. Peace. Thanks again, y'all.